Hello everyone. This class we are going to learn about the poem To a Skylark by SHELLEY, the greatest poet. Percy Shelley, born on 1792 and died on 1822, is one of the greatest of the second generation romantic poets, also numbered John Keats and Lord Byron among them. And To a Skylark is one of the Shelley's best loved and most anthologized poems. But what is the meaning of the poem? What is the meaning of this poem? Rather than offer the poem followed by an analysis, perhaps it would make more sense to go through To a Skylark, a stanza by stanza, and offer a running commentary on this romantic poem. So here are the poem lines. Hail to thee, belit sprite, bird thou never wert, that from heaven or near it, purest thy full heart, in profuse strains of unpremeditated art. Shelley begins by addressing the skylark directly, calling it a blit or carefree spirit rather than a bird, because the bird seems to have come from heaven. Higher still and higher from the earth thou springest, like a cloud of fire the blue deep thou wingest, and sinking still toss soar and soaring ever singest. Then the pale purple even melts around thy flight, like a star of heaven in the broad daylight. Thou art unseen, but yet I hear thy still delight. More emphasis on joy or delight here, with emphasis on the boat sinking, and the way the pale purple of the sky seems to be melt around the boat's majestic movements, as if the bird is a star of heaven rather than skylark. This takes us back to the heavenly spirit of the opening stanza and to a key theme of To a Skylark. Note here too how daylight does not merely rhyme with delight, but turns into as if the daylight of the sky is indeed melting around the bird's delightful song and flight. Then, better than all measures of delightful sound, better than all treasures that in books are found, thy skill to poet were thou scorner of the ground. The skylark's skill is more useful to the poet than all miserable sounds, example music, and any learning a poet could pick up from books. Teach me half the gladness that thy brain must know, such harmonious madness from my lips would flow. The world should listen then as I am listening now. Shelley concludes To a Skylark by asking the bird to teach him just half the happiness the bird must know. In order to produce such beautiful music, if the skylark granted the poet his wish, he, Shelley, would start singing such delicious harmonious music that the world would listen to him much as he is listening to the skylark right now. Then What such a summary or paraphrase of To a Skylark makes clear, we think, is that Shelley's poem is as much about poetic inspiration as it is about the bird itself. As so often with romantic poetry, the self of the poet, the stuff of the poetic creativity, the individual soul of the artist, is at one with nature's inspiring beauty and majesty. Percy Shelley finished writing To a Skylark in June 1820. The inspiration for the poem was an evening walk he had taken with his wife, Mary, author of Frankenstein, of course, in Livorno in northwest Italy. Mary later describes the circumstances that have rise to the poem. It was a beautiful summer evening while wandering among lanes whose sketches were the flowers of the fires and flies that we heard the colouring of the skylark. The result in the last analysis was a poem which uses the music or a song of the skylark not quite as a simple or a simile for the song of the poet, but rather as something that transcends whatever the poet could produce. This is a very simple summary of the poem. So learn the poem to get a clear idea.